Looking back at my journey, it's been a wild ride. The past 5 years have been full of highs and lows that I never expected. But I want to rewind because there are a lot of new people on my channel and I want to share how I became an agency owner and a little of my story. I've always been someone that has known exactly what I wanted out of life. I had a plan and a strategy for everything. It was all written down and there was a clear path to follow, and I knew exactly what I needed to achieve at each age. When I was 13, I wanted to be a chef. I seen an episode of MasterChef Australia and seen a man named Heston Blumenthal. For those who don't know, he owns one of the best restaurants in the world, holds many Michelin stars, and is a pioneer in the cooking world. Nothing is impossible. Crab ice cream, using scientific equipment. He is the real life Willy Wonka. I was in awe. There was no rules, there were no boundaries, and that's what I love. After the show, I ordered the Fat Duck cookbook, and each recipe was 5 or 6 pages long, using ingredients that I couldn't even pronounce. From this point on, I became obsessed. All I did was study the best chefs in the world and the world's 50 best restaurant list. I ordered every single cookbook from the greatest chefs, and fortunately, between 2014 and 2016, it was the popular thing for the world's 50 best restaurants and the chefs to release a cookbook of their restaurant. These became my Bibles. I studied, I cooked, I created while still in high school, and I worked in the kitchen at a local restaurant. After a couple of years, I became confident and started creating my own dishes and recipes in my spare time. I would go and work in Australia's best restaurants for free, just for work experience, and in 2015, at 15 years old, I got the privilege to do a week at Heston's restaurant, the Fat Duck, when it came over to Australia for 6 months. I hosted pop-up dinners, designed and executed 8-course tasting menus that I created and charged hundreds of dollars for. My dream was to become the best chef and have the best restaurant in the world. And in order to do that, I needed to work for the best. So straight out of high school, I got a job at the best restaurant in Australia, which at the time was just awarded 44th best restaurant in the world. It was a dream come true. From here, I would be able to work anywhere in the world at any restaurant. It was a stepping stone, and I did apply to 3 Michelin star restaurants in the US and Europe just to see if I got an in at 17 years old, and I did. However, over time, being away from family in a toxic environment, my mental health started to suffer. I was struggling, and that's when one day I just left. It was an easy decision. I knew I would be okay if I left that place. It got to the point that every single day, before and after work, I would cry. I would break down in tears. I was completely broken. The one thing I didn't factor in was it was my identity. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know who I was anymore. I mean, I had a clear path. I was good, and sometimes I was even as good as I thought I was. I knew I could have made it to the top. I worked non-stop. I studied, learned. I'd come home and cook in my room and test new concepts out. I was obsessed to the point that I would be up till 1, 2, 3 a.m. on a school night in my kitchen cooking and studying. I was at the top of my field, every chef's dream, and now I had nothing. I got a few odd jobs, but I really struggled. One day though, while I was working as a waiter in a local restaurant, I met a man with a nice watch, and he told me he owned a few businesses. Now, prior to that, I had looked up the whole make money online thing, but I really didn't know where to start. I had ideas of online marketing, drop shipping, affiliate marketing, Amazon FBA, and day trading, but I didn't know where to start or which business would be best for me. Now, this guy's name was Steve, and he helped me a lot, and maybe I'll even have him on the channel someday. He told me that regardless of the business that I started, I would need to learn sales. So he offered me a job for a month or 2 where he would pay me to just come down and learn sales. I couldn't pass that up. So the following month, I flew down to Melbourne and I did just that. To me, it was a great experience. However, that 1 month turned into 10 months working at the company. I just kept staying. I had no contract or anything. They just said, "Oh, do you want to stay another 30 days? Sure, why not?" I was learning heaps. I wasn't making a whole lot of money, but it was a great learning experience. It was during this time that I decided I wanted to start a marketing agency focusing on the real estate niche. I honestly had no idea where to start. At the time, there was no real courses out there that suited my style of learning. It was all video course content for $9.97. There was no community or one-on-one support, and that's what I felt I needed, so I went at it on my own. I would send 100 to 150 messages every single day, 6 days per week. Looms, Facebook, Instagram DMs, emails, you name it, I did it. I had no offer. I was pitching Facebook ads. I could land meetings, but they either didn't show up or I just couldn't close them because I was overcomplicating the pitch. Facebook ads, chatbots, retargeting, lookalike audiences, and just talking marketing jargon when they don't actually care about any of that. They just want results. After 6 or so months of doing this, I decided to reduce my hours at my full-time job so I could focus more on the agency and take sales calls. They agreed on the condition that if I missed my KPI for 1 week, I would go back full time. Now, this was all good until 2 months later, I missed my KPI. I knew I didn't want to go back full time, and I had a decision to make. Go all in on myself or go back to work. I quit, and they understood. My back was against the wall. I had 2 months left of savings to live. I needed to get a client fast, otherwise I'd be on the street. Every day I would send message after message and be booking call after call only to fail again and again. 9 months later in total, after 24,000 pieces of outreach, I successfully landed my first client for $1,000. You often hear once you land your first 1 or 2 clients, there is a snowball effect, and I can vouch for that. A few weeks after my first client, I landed my second, and a few weeks after that, my third. It wasn't long until I scaled to 10K per month. I was working with about 6 clients. We all want to hit 10K, but when I reached it, yes, it felt good for a minute, but I kind of thought, this is it? It was underwhelming, to say the least. I managed 10K for about 3 months, but during that time, I focused all of my time on clients, and I forgot about the other part of the business, which was outreach and setting meetings to close more clients. I had no one in the pipeline, and that's when disaster set in. Since I wasn't doing outreach, I couldn't sign clients, and a few of my current ones started to churn. This is a mistake that I tell all beginners to avoid. No matter what, you must always continue prospecting. 10K went to 8K, 8K went to 5K, and at that time, it was too late. I had started outreaching again, but at that point, my income had dropped to around 4K per month, and things weren't looking good. I signed some clients, I lost some clients, but I stayed around that 5K mark for about 2 or 3 months before finally getting back to that 10K. I learned from my mistake and maintained this all the way up until March 2020. This is when the world shut down, and overnight I lost all but 1 client. I went from 10K to about 1.5K. I was devastated and actually didn't know what to do. I had prospects in the pipeline, but they were scared and they wouldn't sign on in these uncertain times. It's here that I knew I needed to pivot. My offer up until this point was, hey, I'll run your Facebook ads to get some leads and grow your influence in the local area. It wasn't an offer. Sure, I'll get them some leads, but it was really focused on making them the #1 agent in their local marketplace. That was my angle. Now in these uncertain times, I had results. I knew what agents wanted, so I came up with a risk-free offer of 10 qualified seller leads in 30 days guaranteed, or you get a full refund. I charged a low price so I could sign as many clients on as I could. I ran ads for this right away because I just didn't want to go back to cold outreach as I was lazy, and it took too much time to scale up. I had a budget of $500 to test and see if I got any feedback. I wasn't expecting to make money, but this was a test to see if I could get people interested. Within a week, I made $8,400, and my first month I made 40K. This was it. I found something people wanted. It was a 20-minute call. I closed them on the spot, collected payment over the phone. It was copy and paste. Each client was set up within 30 minutes. I would be on calls and follow up for about 8 to 9 hours per day, and then spend a few more hours setting up their campaigns and doing admin work. Now, the issue I ran into was I scaled too quickly. I was consistent with 40K for about 3 or 4 months, but I didn't have the capacity because I was doing it all myself, and communication dropped because I couldn't manage everything effectively. This caused problems, refunds, and headaches. I ended up having to refund 100K, and after losing it all again, I needed a month break just to mentally figure out what I was going to do. I'm not someone who gives up, and I think that's the only reason why people fail. They have setbacks and they just throw in the towel. Now, at this point, I'd learned a lot of lessons from previous mistakes, which meant when I launched my ads again, I knew what not to do. I was quickly able to scale up and maintain 30K months consistently. I never scaled further because I didn't want to have a large team and to manage people. Why? Probably because of the stress, and I just didn't think it was important. I started my YouTube channel in January of 2022 with the intent of just making 3 or 4 videos and seeing if I liked it. I never wanted to be a YouTuber or someone on social media. I wanted to be rich and anonymous. But I realized a couple of years ago, the world doesn't care about your feelings. My personal view and feelings on putting content out didn't matter. It's what you need to do. Turns out, after doing a couple of videos, I was actually enjoying it, so I continued. My growth was slow, but to me, I wanted to put out helpful content that I wish I had access to when I was starting out. I've been doing YouTube for almost 2 years now, and I can say it's been fantastic. I do enjoy it, although it does take a lot more time and effort than I first thought. I think no matter what you do, you must stick with it and not give up. You will face obstacles and have self-doubt, but don't quit. You need to keep pushing. Now I run an agency and do coaching, having helped over 100 students in the past 12 months, and many of those have been able to scale to 10K and been able to quit their jobs. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.